We're on live. Hi, hello. Good afternoon. I'm with my sexy voice today. I'm Sandra Roman. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams. Welcome to our second show of Seniors Real Estate Services on season 3. And as always, I'm with my friend Denise. Hi, Denise. How are you today?
I'm good, Sandra. How you doing?
Good, better. I can talk now.
Yeah, your service is a little touchy, but
It
anyway,
is.
yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
So welcome everyone. We're glad you can join us on this cold Wednesday
Oh,
rainy
yeah.
evening.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get you moving tonight, and we'll talk about moving anyway. We have a special
Yes.
guest. So this is our third season
A
of our.
male guest. We usually have girls.
Oh yeah.
We have a cute.
of senior real estate services. So we're just bringing as many services as we can to our community, to all of you, for information, for resources, so that you know what's out there. This season, this is our third season. We're focusing on wellness. So tonight we have our first guest in our series. Last week, we went over some current market trends. We had a little roundtable. And if you did not get to see that live, you can watch the video on either of our Facebook pages.
Yes. And where
Uh,
can they find you,
they
Denise?
could find me right here, in my house.
In your house?
Facebook, Denise Lanzarone, your local realtor. Instagram, Denise Lanzarone. LinkedIn,
Instagram.
Denise Lanzarone. You seeing a theme here?
Everything is Denise
Yeah,
Lanzaron.
yeah. Um,
And remember, we are live. We're going to be live for what, 6 weeks? This is our second week. So we
yep.
have 4 more to go or 5. We never know. And we're live on Denise's Facebook page, on my Facebook page, and on my YouTube channel. You can find me as Sandra Roman Real Estate everywhere. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTokings, and everything. And remember, if you're watching me or if you're watching us, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. Follow me on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. And ring the bell on YouTube. And that's it. That's all I have.
So tonight we have with us Ahmed
Bring
from
him.
Lotus Fitness. So he is
Whoops.
a whoop. Right, there he is.
Hello.
So he is a founder of a personal training service and specializes in moving and exercising pain free, which we all know as a senior myself. And most of you are probably seniors as well. That's pretty important when you're trying to exercise. So welcome, Ahmed.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm loving the energy tonight. Sandra and Denise, I appreciate being here and I'm excited to talk about some things today. I do want to say I apologize in advance if my service gets a little weird. I'm in this place right now, but I'm happy to speak and talk about the things that you guys want to know and talk to you guys about how to move and exercise pain-free.
Where can they find you? Mr. Ahmed.
Yeah. So I appreciate you asking. There are a whole bunch of places. I put out a whole lot of information on Facebook. You could just use my name, Ahmed, or in the Facebook group Lotus Fitness Pain Free Exercise Community. And I'm on Instagram as well at Ahmed, which is my actual name, Ahmed Trainer.
Oh,
And you
Ahmed
can
Ahmed
find.
is your name?
That's right. Yeah.
Ahmed Bees?
Ahmed what?
Ahmed Bees?
These. I
BIS?
don't. No, so it's Ahmed. First name and last name is the same.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I guess my parents weren't creative.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And tell us a little bit about you.
yeah, so I'm happy to do that. I guess I'll jump right in here. For me, my whole journey started when I was in middle school. I was in 8th grade. I was in a class with about 70 people. That's how little my graduating class was, 70 people. And I was one of those chubby kids, right? I was one of those kids that would go to the beach, would have a shirt on, didn't want to take my shirt off. I was insecure and I didn't like the way that I looked. Fast forward into high school, and I went to this massive high school in Brooklyn. And I ended up realizing that I didn't like the way that I looked. I was lacking confidence, and I couldn't start going up to people and have the social life that I wanted to have at the moment. So what I decided to do is I decided to make some changes. And that's where I started to work a little bit more on my exercise, work on the way that my body looked. And I really fell in love with exercise. But it wasn't until college where I started doing it a bit more religiously, meaning I took it from doing it 2 to 3 times a week to doing it 6 times a week. And from there, I started doing this crazy thing called CrossFit. Have either of you ever heard of CrossFit?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's super intense,
It is.
super
Yeah.
wacky, super wacky. And I was doing it one time, and I was doing these crazy movements, and then I hurt my back really bad, and it was horrible because I couldn't find any comfortable positions. I had exams that were coming. I couldn't sit down and study. I couldn't focus on anything, and I couldn't exercise, which was one of the worst parts because I got in all this confidence from my journey through exercise, and when I realized that I couldn't even do that anymore, it just made me start to feel really sad and depressed. And from there, I needed to find a solution. So I ended up going to this chiropractor, and this chiropractor that I went to became a personal trainer. And that was really interesting to me because I knew that I didn't want to do something that was, run of the mill. I didn't want to do something that was something that everybody did. I wanted to take a different approach because exercise was important to me and I wanted to keep moving. I got tired of doctors just telling me to rest and wait it out because I didn't want to do that. I wanted to find a solution, and I wanted to find a solution quickly. And when I went to this chiropractor, he started telling me that exercise wasn't just about helping you look good, but it can help you feel good. And that changed everything for me. I I was in college. I was at Stony Brook. I started taking anatomy classes. After there, I started working with people, studying physics, biomechanics, anatomy, and I really fell in love with the fact that exercise can help you feel better. So
Yes.
from there, I've been working with people and founded my own personal training service in 2019, where we specialize in helping people with aches and discomfort to move and exercise pain-free. So that's all to say that usually when I speak to people, they share stuff like they're worried that they can't do the stuff that they love to do because their
Mhm.
back or their neck or their shoulder or whatever it is going to bother them. Or they even say that they're concerned about maintaining their independence as they go into advanced age. And sometimes it's just the case that they're tired of being tired and not having energy to do the stuff that they love with the people that they love. And for me, that's
What?
an important thing.
Well, when you were like having all these problems back and everything, how movement and exercise help you with your
Yeah.
injuries?
No, I appreciate you asking that because it helped me in so many different ways. I think for me at the time, it was just the fact that I was able to do stuff again, able to move and not be sitting and doing anything. So in terms of just the idea that I can get back to doing something that I love to do was just so good for my confidence. It was so good
Hmm.
for my mental health, right? Because for so long I was like sidelined, so to speak. I wasn't able to do the stuff that I wanted, and I didn't feel like I was myself, right? So exercise helped me feel like I was myself again, and it helped me get back into doing the things that I wanted to do quicker because I got my muscles feeling better, I got my muscles working better, and I started feeling better.
Yeah, but now I have another question. When we get
Please.
to a certain age, then we say, oh, well, maybe exercise is not for me. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe, it's like something I'm too busy. What are the benefits of movement, or how type of movement do we have to do? Does it have to be hard, or is it what? How can we start with movement?
Yeah. So
At
Sandra, I
any
guess
age, I guess.
yeah. So first, I'd like to start off by saying that that's completely understandable that people have those thoughts in terms of where do I start with exercise? How do I start? Is it right for me? And all these are questions that I get all the time. And honestly, when I look at somebody, I start to think, hey, what can this person do? What is the history of their body? And where do they want to go? Right. And once you have those three things, you've identified the needs and preferences and goals of this person. you've evaluated what this person has available to them in terms of their joints, in terms of the capabilities that they have, and then you realize where it is that they want to be, then you can start to make a plan, and anybody can improve. And I'm going to give you some more details when I start to talk a little bit more specifically on how to move and exercise pain-free. Before I do that, I'd love to answer any more questions you have, though.
I have a lot of questions all the time.
Yeah.
Sandra always has a lot of questions.
I always have a lot of questions, especially when, for example, my mom, she has a problem with her back.
Yeah.
And she sometimes she doesn't want to do anything because she doesn't feel like she has diabetes, and sometimes she has low energy. How can she start moving?
Yeah. So, it starts with, if you go from not moving to moving a little, do you think that's going to make a difference?
I guess so.
Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and you guys are exactly right. The body will respond to that, right? Because you're going from point A, which is no movement, to point B, which is more movement, and then your body has to then adapt, right? And so it's always, in order to improve your health, fitness, or in anything in life, right? What do you need to do? You need to shoot for a target and then try to reach that target. Shoot for a target and try to reach that target, right? But if the target is too high, and there are things that are stopping you from reaching that target, then you're not going to get there. It's going to make you feel bad, and things are going to go south, right? So I think it's really important that you just get an understanding of where's a good starting point. And usually the best starting point is just doing a little bit more than you are doing, right? That being said, there are ways to move in efficient manners to get to where you want to go. And it just depends on how willing and able and ready you are to do something like that.
But if everything aches, how do I start with movement and exercise without pain?
Sure.
Is it possible?
Yeah, no, hey, I understand where you're coming from in terms of you asking the question of, hey, if something in my body is already hurting me, how does it make sense to move
Or
or
if
start this
I'm like
exercise?
1,000 years old and I can't move anymore, how
Yeah.
do I start doing exercise without pain?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it comes down to, hey, what is something that doesn't hurt, right?
Hmm.
Or what is something that is bearable for you? And then how do we make that thing that's at least bearable, something that you're comfortable moving in? How do we make that a little bit harder, right? And so in the exercise world, we call those micro progressions, right? In terms of starting from where you're at and just doing a little bit more, right? And so that's how I would start somebody who has something like that, right? And so exercise, there's so many different ways to approach it. And that's the thing. I love getting these questions about, hey, what are the best exercises and what can I do and how can I start? Ultimately, it comes down to the person that's in front of me, right? Ultimately, it comes down to those things that I mentioned, who that person is, right? What is their body telling me? Is their body telling me that it doesn't make sense for them to do a certain movement? Is their body telling me that there's so much damage in this area that maybe there are different ways you ought to approach it before you even touch it, right? There's so many ways that you can approach this, and it just comes from who is the person in front of me.
Okay.
But
So
those are just some considerations there. Yeah.
So your training session starts with a pretty detailed evaluation of the person, obviously.
I like your intuition for sure. It has to, right?
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, then I'm just throwing darts all over the place and not really knowing what it is I can do to get people efficiently to where they want to go. And so, yeah, I want to give you guys some more ideas. If you don't mind, I'll get started here by asking you guys some questions now. What do you think?
Good.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So, have either of you been exercising for a long time? If you have, raise your hand. If not, that's okay too.
Time ago, yes.
Okay, got it. No, fair enough. And why do you exercise, or why did you exercise, Sandra?
To fit in a dress, I guess. I don't even remember.
No, completely valid. You wanted to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got it. And have you ever gotten hurt exercising?
Yes.
Yes.
Denise and Sandra, both of you have. I'm surprised to hear that. Do you guys mind sharing a little bit?
I mean, more recently, being in the healthcare field and in physical therapy for many years, I should be exercising more than I do, but I tend to do more than I should every time I get started. So I, for example, go to yoga and overstretch, and then my back is killing me for weeks. I play pickleball and do a little too much, play singles for an hour and a half, and then I'm in pain. So that's my issues. Or even if I go and exercise and work out or whatever, I always tend to do a little bit more than I should, and I end up in pain, and then I don't do anything again.
Hi, Lily.
Dosing the right amount of exercise or activity has been a problem in terms of making you feel a certain way, and so it's been an obstacle.
Right. I mean,
Got it.
I say I don't exercise. My husband and I walk. We're not
Okay.
working out, but we do.
I was
Take a,
doing pretty good until I got surgery and then I stopped.
yeah.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah. So it sounds like both of you have had some exercise experiences. Now the question is, do you guys think you should get hurt when you exercise?
No.
No,
No.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And so we're on the same page there, right? And I think we've discussed some things already, like pain, right? And I've introduced my story with pain and how it stopped me from being the confident person that I wanted to be, and how it stopped me from living the life that I wanted to live. But this story isn't just something that's related to me, right? Just the other day, I was speaking to somebody, and she was telling me that when she goes to see her grandkid play football, there are no bleachers there. There are no chairs there, right? And so she has to stand. And by the time that she's standing there for a little bit, she starts getting this debilitating back pain, and her son has to help her back to the car, right? And so imagine that you're there with the family and you want to be enjoying this time together, but you can't even enjoy that time because something is killing you in your back, right? And so
Right.
she has these fears of, hey, am I going to even be able to have these moments and memories with my grandkid? Am I going to be able to maintain my independence and not have my son needing to help me go to the car? And so all these things are things that people deal with, real people, right? And so so pain is the issue, right? But what is pain? What is pain? Pain is a soup of information that your brain gets, and then your brain says, I have pain, right? And so the reason why I say it's a soup of information is because pain is very much a subjective experience, right? Meaning you're the only person that can really talk about how the pain that you're feeling is feeling within your body. And when you get different information in that soup, the pain can change, right? So for example, when you take an Advil, the soup of information is changed because the medicine, the Advil, it changes the chemical input that goes into your brain. And then you start to feel pain a little bit differently, right? I'll give you an example. Like personally, if I have pain, okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I had foot pain, okay? And I was playing soccer. When I was playing soccer, I didn't feel the pain as much as after and as much as before. Why? Because during the soccer game, I was only focused on one thing, the soccer game, right? And so pain is a very subjective thing. But the question is how does pain even happen, right? And so I'd like to argue that it happens because of this thing called asymmetry, okay? And so what is asymmetry? Well, it's the opposite of symmetry. Symmetry is if you were to imagine a car and you were to split a car right down the middle. From the right-hand side of the car to the left-hand side of the car, it looks exactly the same from the right side to the left side, right? And this is what we call symmetrical. Now, the opposite of that is asymmetrical, meaning the right side and the left side of the car would look different, right? In a car, that's unusual because it's a mechanical thing and people work on that, right? But even in terms of a car, if a tire on one side has less air pressure than the other side, then you're going to have some problems, right? Very similarly, asymmetry in posture, asymmetry in strength, asymmetry in the endurance of a muscle, how long it can go before it gets tired, asymmetry in range of motion, what positions are accessible to you within a joint. all of these asymmetries can lead to stuff like pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we take a step back for a second and we ask, how do these asymmetries even happen? Well, it happens because of this thing called the skill of pain, okay? And so let me ask you guys, have you guys ever stubbed your toe or stepped on a Lego?
Yeah.
Yeah? Like stubbed your toe against the leg of a table? And then what happens to the way that you move when that happens? When you stub your toe, what happens to the way that you move? Denise, Sandra, anybody jump in here.
I jump like, ooh, on
Yeah,
one side.
you start,
Or you limp, you don't put your weight on that leg because
Yeah.
because it hurts.
yeah, you start changing the way that you move a little bit, right? It's because your brain decides, oh my God, I need to take some weight off of this thing because this thing hurts and I don't want to hurt, right? And
Mhm.
fair, your brain doesn't like pain. We don't like pain, right? And so your brain decides to start moving things. Now imagine there's something in your body that hurts you all the time, right? Your lower back is hurting all the time. Maybe you got surgery somewhere and you're still feeling pain, right? And so what ends up happening? Well, your
You
brain
change
then
your
has to,
position.
right? And then it becomes this chronic thing, right? Where your brain is now saying, I need to figure out how I'm going to be able to move with this painful thing because this thing hurts and I don't want to hurt. And so let me try to play around with the muscles and the degrees of how much each muscle is helping me move in this specific way, because then I can get around this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a really smart thing, right? It's like a cool solution. Like your brain tries to figure out, how can I do this and still keep this person moving, still keep me moving without feeling this pain. Short term, it's a smart solution. Long term, it can cause some problems, right? And so what are some problems it can cause? It's twofold, really, when I think about this. One is the muscles that are now required to work more to take weight off the thing that hurts or to take stress off of the thing that hurts may end up getting frustrated. And here's how I'd like to illustrate this point. If you guys have ever worked on a team project, right? Say there are 3 of you, right? And if there are 3 of you on a team project and you're all supposed to finish the work, say you have a deadline by midnight and you're going to finish the work that night, right? Now, come that night, 10 p.m., the third person says, hey, I have an emergency, I can't come, right? Now, 2 people need to do the work of 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think the 2 people that now have to do more work are going to feel?
Tired.
Not good.
Tired, not good, angry, right? All of these things. And the same thing happens to your muscles, right? They'll start to feel angry. And then when they feel angry, that causes more pain, okay? Another consequence that can happen is it can start to lead to more problems down the road, because your muscles, they do a few things, right? Your muscles, they help you move, but they also absorb force, meaning your body is dealing with forces, pushes, and pulls throughout the day. Gravity is constantly pushing you down, and your body has to deal with that all the time. When you take a step, every step that you take, there are forces inside of your body that you have to deal with, but then there are also forces that come up to you from the ground, right? And all this, it goes into the law of physics and Newton and all those guys that helped us figure this out, right? But here's the thing. If you're asymmetrical, right? I want you guys to picture this, actually. If you have a magician, 100-pound magician on 100 nails, and the magician lies on the nails, right? What happens to the magician if he's 100 pounds and there are 100 nails?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? The magician's good. He's safe, okay?
Because
But
it's the same force.
Sorry?
It's the same weight or the same force. It's
Right,
even.
yeah, the weight is distributed and the magician's going to be fine. But say, for example, that the 100-pound magician is now on 7 nails. What happens to the magician?
It's going to impale.
Yeah, right, impale. Ooh, that's a visual there. No, you're right, exactly. It's not good, right? And so what ends up happening is if weight isn't evenly distributed, then you get this friction that starts to happen within your joints, right? And when you have something rubbing against each other, right? And it keeps rubbing against each other day to day, month to month, year to year, what's going to start happening is that the area where this friction keeps happening is going to diminish, right? And so this is where you get that thing of bone on bone. Have you guys ever heard of that before? Bone on bone, right? And so what happens there is you start to lose some of the cartilage, some of the stuff that's really important for you to be able to deal with the forces of the day, okay? And so how do we deal with this? what do we do to make changes? What do we do to go from asymmetrical to symmetrical? We exercise. Okay, why? Why do we exercise? Because exercise is the only way that we get our muscles and our body to benefit from the stuff that we do. The only active organ that we have control over in our bodies is our muscles. Okay, if we move our eyes from right to left, we're only able to do that because of muscles. If we go like this, we're only able to do that because of
Because
muscles.
of the muscles.
Right?
So we need to strengthen the muscles.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get into that more, but definitely that's a humongous part of it because muscles are so important. Like I mentioned, they move you, they absorb force, and they're so good at keeping your joints safe. They create joint stability. Okay, and so how can we start to create symmetry with muscles? Well, there are a few things that we can do. First,
Weightlifting.
that's one of the things, Sandra, for sure. That's definitely one of the things. Another thing is just to understand what muscles are like, right? Because Denise was touching to a point earlier where she was saying sometimes when she goes to yoga, she overstretches and then she starts to feel sensations she doesn't like, right? And so I like to usually ask this idea, do you guys think of muscles more like ropes or more like elastic bands?
Elastic bands.
Elastic bands. How about you, Denise?
Elastic bands. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And I see how that's very intuitive. And I thought that up until a few years ago when I really started delving into this stuff, right? And it's tough because a lot of people think that.
So then they're ropes?
Muscles are more like ropes.
No kidding me. I thought they were elastic.
Yeah, no, for sure, right? Because you think of muscles that they can stretch, but they don't.
Exactly.
They don't actually stretch. If you pull them apart, they don't just come back, right? But they're very precise in the way that they move things, right? Because muscles, they attach to bones, and muscles have to precisely pull bones so it can move you in the way that you want to be moved very precisely, right? So the tension and the ability for your muscles to create tension is a very complicated thing. It's not ruled by rebound effects of bands or anything like that. It's ruled by your brain and your nervous system and how you control your muscles, okay? And muscles are really cool. You know why? Because they can learn very quickly. They're smart. They're very smart. They're very smart. You can start to make changes really, really quickly to your body. And so, you know what? Let's actually do a little experiment here, if you guys don't mind. So you guys are sitting here, right? Are you guys sitting with a chair with a backrest?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like you to kind of get off of the backrest and move your butt forward onto the seat so that your back is off of the backrest.
Okay.
Okay. And then do something like this. Make an X on your chest here. Okay. And then very slowly, if you feel discomfort while you're doing this, stop right away. Okay. But if you don't and it feels good, then do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn your torso. You're going to turn your torso as far as you can go to one side and then hold that position. Squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to the middle. Okay. What was that like for you guys? Sandra, where did you feel that?
Squeezing.
Squeezing. You felt like you were squeezing there. Denise, how did that feel to you?
Okay. I mean, I felt it in the rotation of my back.
Yeah, you felt the rotation there. Okay, cool. So I forgot to ask you guys to notice how far you went, but we're going to go to that same... we are going to do it again in a moment. And when we go to that position, I want you guys to go as far as you can go. Hold that for a second and then come back, okay? Ready?
Ready.
Go as far as you can go to that
the same side?
Same side, yep. Same side. Okay, and then once you're ready, come back. Okay. What, if anything, did you guys notice about that second time?
Felt better, actually.
Felt better? How about for you, Sandra?
It was like faster?
It was faster. Okay. Yeah. So faster, felt better. And so all we did was 5 seconds of squeezing a muscle. And both of you were saying that you're able to get to that position faster. You're saying that it's feeling better, right? And so muscles are very quick in their ability to learn. On the other hand, right, muscles can forget. Okay. And so what do I mean by this? Muscles, when they learn, it's a lot like learning a language, right? I don't know if you guys have ever learned a language, but when you learn a language, you need to practice it often, because if you don't practice it often, what happens?
You forget.
I forget.
You forget, right? And so using your muscles needs to be this thing that you consistently do. Do you guys see that? And on the same token, muscles can be turned on and turned off very quickly, right? And so we have these opportunities to make our muscles work for us so that we can feel better, so that we can get into the positions that we get into each day in a better, more efficient, faster, better way, okay? And so I'm going to leave you guys with this. I'm going to leave you guys with 3 tips to help you guys move and exercise pain-free. Sandra, you were touching on this already. The first tip is to do resistance exercise, right? What we just did there, this exercise that helped you guys feel better in seconds, that was using the internal resistance of your body to do that, right? So resistance you can get from your body because your arm weighs something, right? So if you just hold your arm out like this, your arm's weight is something that your muscles need to control, right?
So what does resistance means? Do I need weight or just resistance? Like, so what movement or what type of exercise or activity or what gets me?
No, I'm glad you asked the question about which resistance is going to be the best resistance. And the answer that most people don't like to hear, but is the best answer that I can give, is it depends, right? Because if you're somebody like I think you mentioned your mother, right? She doesn't move so well, and things are tougher, right? So for her, it might make more sense first to only do things where she's just using her body and she's just using the resistance of her body to do things, right?
Okay.
The exercise only makes sense based on the person. So the exercise that makes sense for me and my goals, if my dad did that same exercise, he would be really hurt, right? Why? Because we're different people, right? Different age, different stress in our lives, different history of our bodies, different diseases, different medications. All this stuff is important, right? But the first thing is resistance training, right? Resistance training, whether that's with your body or whether that's with bands or whether that's with little dumbbells or big dumbbells, whatever, okay? The second thing is to manage your daily activities. What does that mean? I was working with a client who told me that when she would walk a mile, come 3/4 of a mile in, she would start to feel bad hip pain, right? And so this is gonna sound kind of silly, but in business, I want you to think about this in business, right? In business, if you were to make a profit, there are only 2 ways to do that, right? To increase your revenue or to reduce your costs. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. To get your body to feel better using muscles, there are only 2 ways to do that. You can increase your muscles' capabilities, meaning making them stronger, work better, increase their endurance and fatigue resistance, their
or
stamina.
Do less activity.
Or do less activities, right? Instead of walking a mile,
walk half a mile.
Walk half a mile, exactly, right? And then see how it feels, right? So if you're cleaning in the house and 2 hours into cleaning, stuff hurts, maybe you'll want to break it up, right? Or you're doing dishes and you realize that after 10 minutes of doing dishes, your lower back is starting to ache. Maybe do 2 minutes, take a little break, do 2 minutes, take another break, do 2, so on and so forth, right? Manage your activities, okay? And the third and final point is when you are doing the exercise to do single arm or single leg exercises, right? Instead of doing things that require both hands or arms at the same time, things that require both legs at the same time, only do one at a time, because you'll get to realize that there are these asymmetries that need to be worked on, and you'll get to connect to the things that you're working on more.
What about, I don't know, something more like dancing super hard, or would that help or not really?
Would it help?
Or with anything?
Yeah. So exercise, I define as any physical activity done with the intention of increasing your health, right? So can dance be exercise? Yes. If dancing hurts you and it's going to keep you from doing more dancing because every time you go it hurts, then maybe it's not the best, right? But it just depends, right? So for some people, yeah, dancing could be great. For other people, maybe not.
Okay.
So,
So we need
so
to.
like you were saying, when you play soccer, nothing hurts you. So when I play tennis or pickleball, nothing
Don't
hurts.
play it, Denise, because it hurts.
Nothing hurts me until I get home, or actually until the next day, and then everything hurts. But so how do we monitor that? Like, just figure out how long I can play for before I'm in pain.
Yeah, so you're asking what to do about the pain that you get the day after, or the night during when you play pickleball, and how things feel.
Yeah, because maybe when she's playing, she doesn't feel the pain. She feels the pain after she
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, I did too
So
much."
it's not like, the example you gave of the woman walking, and it starts to hurt when she walks a mile. So do a half a mile. So what I
Yeah.
can't really do that because it doesn't hurt while I'm playing.
Right. So you're saying that it's hard to gauge how much activity is the activity that's going to make you feel good, right?
Right.
So you bring up a good point there, right? Because sometimes it is really hard to manage, especially because there's so many things going on inside your body, and day to day your body changes, right? Uh, every day you sleep different amounts. Every day you might eat different amounts, right? And so your body has different fuel sources to it, and there are all these things going on inside your body and brain, because your brain controls everything that your muscles do. And so for you, Denise, I would say there are two ways to approach it. One, you can experiment, right? Meaning maybe one day you do 10 minutes less and see if it has the same effect. If it does, maybe you do 20 minutes less. If it does, then you keep going back. But if you really love the sports and you don't want to stop that, uh, then I'd make the suggestion of increasing your muscles capabilities so that it can allow you to play as long as you want without having issues.
Okay. We have a question from Susan. What do you recommend to your clients who may have a chronic illness and chronic pain?
And so I don't know if Susan is still with us. I appreciate that question, Susan. When it comes to what I recommend, in regards to what exactly? Is it in regards to exercise in general? Is it regards to the pain itself? Is it in regards to exercise with chronic illness? And here's the thing, it's tough, right? Because the answer can change with all these things. I don't know if Susan's with us, but I'm going to try to answer this with as many considerations as possible. So chronic illness means that there's constant stress on your body, right? And so that's going to mean that the dosing of the exercise is going to be incredibly important, right? Meaning how much you exercise, how often you exercise throughout the week. All that is going to have to be closely managed and measured, right? It's really hard to say what exactly is going to make sense because I don't have any information on your specific body, Susan. And I think that you can exercise with a chronic illness. In fact, people with chronic illness can have a whole lot of benefits from exercise. And if you don't believe me, just go to Google and you'll learn about all the amazing ways that exercise can help the ability for your lungs to work better, the ability for your heart to work better, the ability for your brain and memory to work better, the ability it's the best anti-aging there was a study that came out last February, I believe. It was a meta study, meaning they took a whole bunch of studies and they learned from the studies themselves that exercise is the number one thing that you can do in your lifestyle to mitigate all types of chronic diseases and deadly diseases, right? And so I suggest, if you do have a chronic illness and chronic pain, unless your doctor says it's a bad idea, to exercise, right? And here's the crazy thing too. If your doctor says it's a bad idea, feel empowered to ask more questions, right? What specific exercises are bad ideas? Is every exercise a bad idea, or some exercise worse than other, right? And the problem is that a lot of people, with anything, I'm not saying in regards to exercise, right? But a lot of people, when they look at specific things, they look at it in a black and white approach, where it's really about degrees of things. And so I'll finish this thought with one story. I currently work with a client who had cancer for years, right? And so my goal is to study what impact that has on her body. And the only way for me to know is to see how her body adapts to each session and how she comes in the next session, asking her questions within the session, so I can make sure that things feel good. Right now, what we do know is that when people have had these types of illnesses and diseases, that sometimes energetically their metabolism has a harder time recovering from certain exercises, right? And so it only makes sense to track these things very closely so as to make sure that we're mitigating any types of risk. I hope that answered your question, Susan. If you'd like to speak a little bit more, I'd be happy to speak to you. Just shoot me a message or give me a text.
Yeah, I did. I put your number in the chat box, I believe. Did I?
Great.
Is there any better exercise, like if I'm older or if I'm in pain, or any exercise is good?
Yeah, so, Sandra, I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit of a geek. I'm a bit of a nerd, right? And so when I hear somebody say, hey, what's the best exercise? My first thought is for what, right? Are you asking what's the best exercise for feeling better? Are you asking what's the best exercise for losing body fat? Are you asking what's the best exercise to make you better at pickleball? There are so many things. For me to just be like, oh, this is the best exercise, I wouldn't feel
So it depends.
about that. It depends. Yeah, it depends. I mentioned resistance training. And a lot of people, when they think about resistance training, I mentioned internal resistance, right? Using your body's weight, and also other things like bands and stuff. Now, here's the funny thing. A lot of people, they put certain exercises into these choreographed routines, meaning when people think of a squat, they think about it looking a certain way. When people think of a push-up, they think about it in a certain way. But none of these exercises need to have rules. There are no rules when it comes to exercise. The only rules that matter are the rules that respect your body and that respect physics and anatomy. That's it. There are no rules to exercise. So there is no best exercise. There is a best exercise for your body that's going to help you get closer to your goal.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Any
Sandra.
other questions that we may have around Miss Denise?
Well, Susan was asking about exercise and pain.
In pain.
And relates to her illness.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your illness and everything that you're going through, Susan. It's exercise and pain. I hope some of the information I brought up here today can help out with that in regards to some of the exercises. In my Facebook group, I think you'll have access to that as well. I have master classes on all different types of areas specifically related to joints like your neck, shoulder, back, knees, hips.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different type of diseases and conditions, right?
100%. And there's an infinite amount of exercises, right? Because your body can move in so many different ways and you can get stronger in so many different positions. But until we know what positions you need strengthening in and what positions are going to make the most difference to your body, it's hard for me to say exactly what it is that you need. I do hope that you find what it is that you need.
She says she answered that she has RA. That's why she was asking.
Okay. And so I'm guessing that's rheumatoid arthritis.
Yep.
I'm guessing that's rheumatoid arthritis. And so the thing with rheumatoid arthritis is it's more of immune system problem, right? And so sometimes the best that exercise can do is it can help you keep mobile, because sometimes what tends to happen is when people have these issues, they tend to not move as much because things hurt, and that makes sense, right? And so the idea is to find the exercises that can help you feel good and can help you keep your muscles strong so that you can keep moving. Because if you have RA and you stop moving, then what do you guys think? Are things going to get better? Are things going to get worse? Stay the same? Things are only going to get worse, right? But if you have RA and you start to do some exercises that make sense for you, then things can move in the right direction, right? And so I was working with a client. He had RA in his hands and the joints and his fingers. It was tough. It was tough to see, right? We were able to get him to strengthen his ability to hold stuff, and then when we spoke, he mentioned that it was easier for him to do stuff around the house, like power hose his cement, what's it called,
Patio,
Mhm.
patio or whatever it is,
walkway
right?
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned that it was a bit easier to do that. It didn't hurt as much the next day. I mean, you'll still feel some things in the morning, and that stuff you can't really get away from because it's difficult. But there are things that you can do to mitigate the effects of rheumatoid arthritis.
So how does it work when someone wants to come to you to start an exercise program?
Yeah, no, Denise, thank you for asking that. I think it starts with a conversation, right? I need to figure out if the person that I'm speaking to, if it makes sense for them to see what it is that I do. Sometimes I tell people, hey, maybe you can stay where you're at, and if not, I tend to ask questions because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a geek and I'm a nerd, and I like to get a full picture before I make any recommendations. So I think the best way is to text me or call me 646-415-2349. If you feel more comfortable shooting me a message first, you can do that on Facebook or join my Facebook group at Lotus Fitness Pain Free Exercise Community, and hopefully I can give you some stuff to work on.
Anything else, Miss Denise? Any
No,
other? I'm out of questions tonight.
wow,
Finally.
that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
I'm out of questions tonight. You have any other questions?
Any no, I'm good. I'm just checking to see if anybody else has anything else to ask. I don't think
Okay.
so. Yeah.
What's next? What's next for next week? Oh, my hair is so weird. My hair is weird today.
So next week we have a special guest, Diane, and we will be talking about injury prevention and accidents that could happen in the home.
Join us next week.
So next same time, same place next week,
We're
Wednesday,
always
7
here.
o'clock. We're always here.
Denise's Facebook, my Facebook page, my YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Ahmed, thank you very much for being here
Yes.
with us today. Tell us again, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. So there are a few places you can find me in my Lotus Fitness Pain Free Exercise Community Facebook group. You can text me at 646-415-2349. I'm on Instagram at Ahmed Trainer, and I'm on Facebook. My name is Ahmed. We likely have mutual friends. Be happy to speak.
So
Denise?
it's Lotus Fitness Pain Free Exercise Group
Community.
Community.
Okay, because I didn't see that before.
Because you put.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see.
Hi,
Anything?
Joanne. Thank you for being here. Thank
You
you,
for the
Susan.
information. Awesome, says
Thank you to
Joanne.
everybody for being here.
Lily was here too. Thank you, Lily.
Yes.
Lily, thank you.
Lily and Diane that just stopped by very quick. And who else was here?
I don't know. Yeah. So thank you, Ahmed, and we'll be talking to you.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure being here.
Tell people where can they find you before we leave.
Just send me a text 631-922-5985. I'm always available. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Everybody just like and
Everybody
comment.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody everywhere. I'm Sandra Roman. You find me everywhere too. Sandra Roman Real Estate. Everybody everywhere. And so, what's the name of our group?
What's the name of our group?
Seniors. What?
I get confused with it. Senior Services Resource Group.
Senior Services Resource Group. Please join to our group. We have a lot of resources there. We have a lot of stuff in there. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Besos. Adios, amigos.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good